get on this. I want to go right on into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. Brother Jeff Thomas, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, they're doing fine. Oh, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm doing fine.
Thanks for having me.
That was a joke. You get it? Because we're going to talk about comedy today.
Yeah, well, we always end up talking about music and gigging and, random topics, but I figure we could, let's pick something everybody that we know that goes out and does music pretty much always watches, like the stand-up shows and familiar with comedians. We could talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So we could just roll into it like that.
Absolutely. Well, how about this? I just realized that I forgot to turn these lights on for the better viewing of YouTube viewers. Who is your favorite comedian and why? For just a couple seconds while I flip these lights on.
Oh, wow. Well, again, that's
Loaded question.
such a that's a super definitive question with no right answers. And it might vary day to day. I mean, everybody loves Chappelle. That Greg Giraldo, for the short time I saw him, I thought he was really super sharp.
I'm not sure if I'm familiar with Giraldo.
He was kind of like Mitch Hedberg. He passed away right when he was coming on, but he was super sharp. But he was like on his roast. So I mean, I've never really seen his full situation. I mean,
is that the guy? Did you share something of his the other day, or somebody on Facebook?
I don't think so.
Okay,
But
I remember seeing that name now. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
who do you have?
Man, Robin Williams for the longest time was just so quick.
An original.
An absolute original.
Very original.
He was so quick. He would just and Carlin was quick. And there's so many
Scripted out big time though.
yeah, absolutely. Carlin was very scripted. I believe that Robin Williams could have been as well, but it seemed like he could screw up a situation and make a joke out of the mistake that he made just immediately. Like you could just tell that he's winging it. Like Live on Broadway in 2000 was probably it. And not only, it's funny, when we're talking about comedians, Tom Segura. You familiar with Tom Segura?
I watched his special.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit familiar with him.
I have 2 signed copies of his Netflix special.
Okay.
Pretty stoked about that.
Nice. So you're on that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I like
Tom Segura.
Tom Segura. He does a podcast too called Your Mom's House with his wife Christina Pajitsky.
Okay.
And who's Christina P. Whose Netflix special Mother Inferior. You may have seen. You should watch that. But that's Tom Segura's wife.
Okay.
She's also the closer on The Degenerates. That's comedy special.
Okay. Then I have seen her.
She's the closer.
I watched that.
Joey Diaz was second to the end. He's got a podcast as well. I love Joey Diaz.
The older, Goodfellas looking guy?
Yo, yeah.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, that was something else.
He's got a podcast. He goes live at 3 a.m. I got a notification I woke up to take a piss in the middle of the night, and Joey Diaz just went live on YouTube. He's a madman. But yeah, he's good too. But what started that?
Bill Burr had some of the funniest ones
man.
I've seen in the last couple of years. Who else?
Bill just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, and I'm not easily offended, but as long as it's funny.
Yes.
And it's in context of something,
And not in a horribly bad taste. It has to be somewhat tasteful.
Yeah. I mean, we're all grown-ups here.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, I remember being in 9th grade, riding around, with my first friend that had a car, listening to, Dice Clay, getting, Dice Clay, tapes. And I don't think that would be funny now. I mean, it was funny then, but I was, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah, I think it was funny then, too, because you weren't supposed to, you're not supposed to be hearing these words.
Right. And
I heard those things for the first time.
Anymore.
No, not anymore. Hell no.
That was shocking then.
Yeah. Do you ever watch any of his current stuff?
I mean, I've seen him do roles on different series,
Yeah.
think like Entourage or something like that, maybe at one point
Yeah.
or something. But no.
He comes out and I think he has new bits. Like he's got new
Okay.
material, but he comes out and does his new material and everybody like laugh out of respect, you know. But then he does his like hickory dickory dock, and then everybody just loses their fucking minds.
That's funny. That's I hear a lot of comedians on the Stern Show
Yeah.
when I'm riding around in the car, and and they always bring up the point like like if you go see Sting, everybody's like waiting for Roxanne. They're waiting for
Yep.
every little thing she does is magic. Like you can't just go out and tell the same jokes, but I guess you can.
Oh yeah.
I guess you got those like those classic hits.
I remember going to see Jeff Foxworthy at the
there you go.
Florence Civic Center and
Hey, man.
reciting his entire set. Like, and my parents were embarrassed. Like, I think we had to leave early because I just wouldn't stop giving away the punchlines.
Sure, you were excited.
I was excited I was a kid. I didn't know any better. But yeah, they just do the same. You can go out and do the same bits over and over, and people love it.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and of course you hear a lot about the, I haven't been to anything where they take your cell phone yet.
Yeah.
Or they like have a frequency jam or something. Have you heard about that?
Yes. They, from what I can tell, is Dave Chappelle's like, and Joe Rogan both said, I don't want you to, this is new material. I'm working this material out.
Right.
Like,
Completely understand.
Yeah, I'm not going to let this version of this joke leak first before I get it the way that I want. When I get it the way I want, I'll record a special.
Right.
Like it's almost like they look at it as stealing, which we were going to get into later as well. But they look at it as literally just thievery.
Yeah, I mean I saw Chris Rock at the Palace back in the late '90s or something when he was working out one of his HBO specials, and he would go to like. He literally said in an interview, he's like, I go to retirement communities in Florida and the Carolinas, and I hit these theaters, and I,
That's a great way to do it.
there was no camera phones then. So nobody was going on and leaking anything around here, trust me.
Gosh, how much has the world changed over the last few years?
Everybody would have had it all.
That's the thing is that I remember when bootleg movies first came out, and it would be somebody's like cell phone recording in the theater, sitting in the back or whatever, and like you would see something that you weren't supposed to see before you, and everybody's going to watch it, and everybody's going to try. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. And yeah, these people are going to lose money by whatever, be it that movie that's being recorded, or be it the comedy special that's being recorded. Or not only that, just people that just don't want to experience something rather than through their phones.
Well, that also like kind of ties into one of the things that I messaged about, like oversaturation.
Yeah.
Think about like name the big comedy specials from like this many years ago, and you can you name certain ones. They all stand out. Now it's
So many.
so many.
It's a really good era for comedy, I think. But there's one, because there's so many to choose from, but two, because you've got this sweet spot of rebel comics who are hanging on to that. I can say what the fuck I want because I'm a comic, and that's how this works. But I really that's why I like Tom Segura and Joe Rogan and Burt Kreischer and Joey Diaz. And are you familiar with those guys?
I mean, I watched the Degenerates.
Yeah.
And of course Joe Rogan and
The big guy from Degenerates is pretty funny too. But yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, you're a little. I'm more old school, I guess.
I like okay. As far as old school, you're not going to beat Richard Pryor.
Of course not. Yeah.
One, because he talked about real things that really happened to him, and
I watched one of his older specials, and Chappelle like lifted a bit off of that. I was actually really surprised.
really, which one?
Oh man,
Do you remember?
I'm on the spot now, but I remember
No.
I remember hearing it, and it was live in Long Beach. If you watch Richard Pryor live in Long Beach, he'll go into this one bit And sure enough, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has similar experiences and stuff, but it was close. It was pretty interesting.
Chappelle's different. I talked to Michael Swaim, who was on the Sunset Grill with me and Noah and Blair once. He was at the Chappelle Netflix special, one of the Netflix specials. Like
Okay.
they do a
did
close up of him in the
Austin
camera.
and Los Angeles.
He was in L.A. Yeah, and they do like literally. He said out of all of the small movies that he's been in and all of the comedy that he's done in his life, the most noteworthy thing he's ever done was attend a Dave Chappelle show, which is a great joke in itself.
Right.
But yeah, he was like, Dave Chappelle told us about all the times that he met O.J. Simpson, and he was going to tell us about all those times before the end of the gig. But by the end of the show, he had only told about 3 of those things because he's so good at talking. He's got hours of material. He can
yeah.
everything he says is funny.
Didn't he do like 6 hours or something one time?
Oh yeah, well he goes. Apparently he'll show up at like the comedy store in L.A. And just he'll go on after everybody. Like he'll do 4 a.m. until the sun comes up or whatever. Like he just sits down with a microphone and talks. Like he doesn't need to have memorized material because he can regurgitate anything at any time.
It's like
He never runs out.
second language.
Yeah, it absolutely is. He's great. Carlin's great. Hedberg. You mentioned Hedberg. Hedberg was one of a kind. I wish we would have got more of him.
He was Stephen Wright would be the guy who kind of had sort of that style, and I'm sure there was probably somebody who had a little bit of that deadpan,
Yep.
super deadpan style. Like I know you like Norm Macdonald, and that's
Yes.
he goes fully uncomfortable deadpan.
Norm's the best.
Like-
Norm could be my favorite. He's
Wow.
Norm's probably on my Rushmore.
He puts you in the uncomfortable zone. Like you're like, I don't want to laugh at that, but you actually went that corny or something.
It's so good, man. I watched so much Norm Macdonald videos one time at a certain point a few months ago. Norm Macdonald was narrating my thoughts.
Oh, that's scary. You might want to look
Dude, I would tell people that at gigs, and they would just be like, "I'm so sorry." But yeah, well,
Well, you're a big baseball guy. Him and Artie were on the Stern Show talking about filming the movie with Bob Uecker or
dirty work.
yeah, and they told all these behind the scenes stories
Yeah.
of Bob Uecker that are hilarious. You have to look that up, or I'll send it to you.
Did you see that Bob Uecker thing I shared the other day?
Yeah, I didn't really understand it. Maybe it was
He said I wanted the kid to be just like me, and he went hitless for like 3 or 4 games, and
okay.
he was like, "I was so proud."
Oh, that's okay. Now I got it. Yeah, I remember that one. But yeah, they said they have the cough button
Yeah.
in the thing, and he'd be like, he's like, and Hudgens is coming off the base. He's leading off. He's like, look at the tits on that one over there. He's just completely like. They said he worked it like like James Brown. They said he had this cough button. He would just say the dirtiest things off the mic, and then go back to calling the game.
That's so awesome. I bet he really did that.
That was so they said.
That's great. Uke's awesome. He was with the Milwaukee Braves and now with the Milwaukee Brewers. Bob Uke is one of the most beloved Braves of all time. Roll Tribe, spending all that money. Anyway, we're not talking about sports today.
All right, so
Oh, but hold on. Before you move on from that, I don't mean
No.
hold your thought, but Artie's not doing well. Have you heard that lately? Like Artie
he hasn't been doing well for a long time.
Have you seen him lately?
Last time was pretty bad.
The picture of his nose was like it's so
Oh, yeah.
flat and
Yeah,
like
he's a mess. He's a mess.
it's so bad, dude. He's like done so much drugs that
And I did see that he was doing it was called Sober Artie. Like he's doing some.
I saw that on Twitter.
He needs some money. He's probably got a lot of bills right now.
Yeah.
But hopefully.
Yeah, let's hope so. I think he changed his name on Netflix on Twitter to Artie Quitter for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to all that go down from the time I got Sirius Radio until he was
Yeah.
off the show, and then after it was pretty bad.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Where were you gonna
I was gonna say,
go before I interrupt you?
like stand-ups versus sketch comedians. Chappelle managed to, at least in his own show, like
Yes.
really like hit both, like 10 out of 10 on both.
Yeah.
But that was his show. He wasn't just jumping into another person's format. So
Yeah, and he hits a nail on the head when he's talking about how pissed off he is. He has to watch Key and Peele do his show every night.
yeah, I mean, I've laughed at some of their stuff, but I don't love it.
I don't mind. I don't mind them, but of course I never watched the show. Like I really like Get Out that he did. Obviously that wasn't comedy driven, but I really like that movie.
Oh, they're talented, like actors
Yeah.
and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old for the humor. Like I'm old.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
I agree. Maybe it's a generational thing, but I've never watched Key and Peele.
Oh, they do this one like funny thing where like a bunch of football players come in and imitate football players and do like the introductions and stuff. I mean, they've got some funny stuff, but it's not something I'm like, oh man, Key and Peele's
Yeah.
coming on.
Where am I getting this from? But yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe it was a Chappelle show thing because I really loved the Chappelle show, and I really
Chappelle
liked
show
Dave
was-
Chappelle.
Probably the best thing that came along in a while. It's hard for me to like think of anything that's, like of course Saturday Night Live is going to be
Yeah,
the grand champion, but for sketch comedy shows, like what else do you like there?
there's not a lot. There's not a lot that you can. And I mean, Tim and Eric used to be decent, but did you ever watch Tim and Eric?
No.
Tim and Eric was strange, but I refrain from saying that usually because they stole a bit from Adam and Tyler and Noah. They stole a bit from Horsehead,
Oh, Horsehead Businessman. Yeah.
who is also fantastic sketch comedy.
Yeah. That's some really, really good stuff. I always like The State. Did you ever see The State? Oh man, it's a lot of the folks that ended up in like Wet Hot American Summer, and you've seen them in tons of movies. But they had a troupe out of Austin back in '94 on MTV, like when Beavis and Butthead was first out.
Yeah,
And I watched it again like a while back, and I was like, man, well, it kind of holds up. But it's pretty good. And like Kids in the Hall was a big one on HBO. Upright Citizens Brigade.
I remember
Had a
hearing
lot
about
of-
UCB.
I mean, a lot of talent came out of there.
That
but
was
I don't
like-
remember really watching the show very much, but it was like Amy Poehler and
Yeah,
Stephen
I was just about
Colbert.
to say Amy Poehler from a lot of the Parks and Rec people were part of UCB. I think Aubrey Plaza also
Okay.
was part of that.
By the way, did you catch in that Quincy Jones documentary that Rashida Jones is his daughter?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, I knew that because I follow her on Instagram.
Okay, so
And yeah, so she posts pictures like when they were filming that.
okay.
She was like hanging out with Daddy, and I'm like, wait, damn, Quincy, you still getting in there? And I was like, oh no, that's his daughter. How did I not be? Her name is Rashida Jones.
She was on a couple episodes of the Chappelle Show too.
Yeah, I remember. She was in the bit about the office supply
Home
place.
stenographer or something like that.
Yeah. Ah, she's good. Everybody in Parks and Rec actually did really well. I really am hoping for a comeback of that show one day, while all the cast is still like, except for Chris Pratt who blew off the fucking map. He's the biggest movie star in the world now.
Is he really?
Like, I mean, he did the Guardians of the Galaxy and he did the Jurassic Park, which both
Okay.
were probably two of the bigger,
Blockbuster.
yeah, blockbuster. I mean, probably the biggest, one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. He bridged the gap between comic book and '90s nerds.
What a big jump!
Right,
What a big jump off of Parks and Rec to
And
that.
dude. Just Michael Schur, who wrote Parks and Rec, who is Mose in The Office.
Okay.
He played Mose in The Office.
Dwight's brother.
Yeah, that's the creator. He was one of the creators of The Office and created Parks and
wow.
Rec. That's him. He said that Chris Pratt had a joke in Parks and Rec that made him furious because he knew that no matter how long he wrote, he would never be able to write something as funny as what he just thought immediately. And it was one day Leslie had the. Did you watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah, I've seen
Okay.
it, so.
One day when Leslie had the flu, he said, "I put your symptoms into this box, and it says you have internet connectivity problems or network connectivity problems." And he was like, "I got furious because I could never write a joke that funny."
Well, I mean,
So he's also probably be pretty good stand up. I bet Chris Pratt will be hilarious on a stage with a microphone.
well, I think that's a rare talent, and we can talk about how scary that might be. Like,
Yeah.
we get up and play and sing in front of people and do all that for hours at a time, but I think just you and a microphone.
You take that guitar away.
Yeah, I don't even know how a front man, like just like a Chris Robinson or Robert Plant
Yeah.
kind of guy, like just gets out there and it's like, I'm gonna own this microphone, and
How do you know what to do with your hands?
David Lee Roth this situation. But yeah, to go out and do comedy like that,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like everything else. You have to fall on your face 100 times to get that one good laugh, I'm sure, or that good
Yeah.
applause from the crowd. Like, you own that song.
And I guess that would be the same for playing a gig, maybe, is that it takes us a while to get the crowd to warm up to us. We're like a dog. We have to like coax them over, or they're like a dog, rather.
Well, it depends on if you have that. Is it a gig or is it a performance or a show? Is everybody kind of hyped that you guys are coming on, or is it like, we're going to be passing through this bar for 4 hours kind
Yeah.
of thing? Like, I mean, like comedy gigs, like I imagine are more like,
We showed up to see this.
I've only been to the Comedy Cabana like once or twice maybe, but
Yeah.
you got tickets, you walk in, you sit down, it's not football games
Yeah.
on everywhere, so but yeah, even more pressure. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Spotlight.
And I don't know, like I've thought about I've actually had almost borderline panic attacks thinking about what I would do if I were doing stand up. Just because I've thought about it before and I'm curious in it. I want to do it one day just to see what it's like, to see how it works out. But I'm terrified of that thought whenever I like start playing through it. Like, okay, I'm out. Do you ever do that? Do you ever like project yourself into a situation you may one day have to be in just to work through your feelings on it? Do you ever do that?
Probably. I don't know if I've ever really thought about it in those terms, but I'm sure if I sit here and scroll back, I can see myself like,
Yeah.
I'm always trying to play one step ahead with, making sure all the gear works and,
Yeah.
and we have something like a game plan.
Yeah. So I'll say, for instance, like just saying that whole stand up thing. Like I will say like get on stage, and in my mind I like put myself on stage in front of a shitload of people. And then I'm just like with this microphone, and like you'll start to freeze up, and I'm living in that body inside of that.
You're like up here watching yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
I
I'm
know.
living in that body. Like it's sort of like astral projection, but while awake, if you will. And I'm like, I'll get anxiety for that guy who's standing on that imaginary stage in front of all those imaginary people.
Well, some of those like opening gigs I did at the HOB.
Yeah.
45 minutes, but like 900 people.
Yeah, you got.
And so you just kind of have to like, once you walk out, you have no option.
You're there.
You're
on it.
everything just heightens up and you do it.
Yeah, I did that. I
Thank
did that
goodness.
for the Corey Smith show one New Year's, and I
Oh,
mean that
yeah.
was. You walk out there, and it's just you and that guitar and all them people. and they're all looking at you.
Oh yeah.
It's surreal.
The first time it was like really crazy, and then the second time I was like, okay, and then it's just, but it's still not easy.
Oh yeah. Well, you think any time that you get to go play on a stage that you went to as a kid and saw like really like noteworthy people, like we had a good few years at the House of Blues in the '90s where a lot of really good bands came through. It's not like it is now.
Things are all different.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, Wilco, Flaming Lips, Ben Harper, several times.
Yeah.
Lots of good people.
Yeah, a lot of great bands. You walk backstage and you see all of those drum heads with all those names on it that like, oh shit, so there's some legit heads that played this stage. Dave Chappelle did comedy on that stage.
Yeah, I didn't go. I had some friends that went. I mean, they said it was good, but I don't know if they think it was like right at the height of people yelling out dumb things at his shows, and he was like really frustrated with it.
Yeah, a lot of heckling.
Well, like Charlie Murphy, or Rick James, or doing all the
doing all the Chappelle show
he
stuff.
couldn't get through a setup and a joke without somebody like being a drunk heckler or whatever.
You ever watch any of those videos?
Did you ever see they did a whole documentary called Heckler. That's pretty interesting. Actually, Jamie Kennedy did it.
Really?
Because he got heckled a lot. But yeah, it has it's edited. I mean, it's got everybody from Bill Hicks, of course, and then there's this one guy who just wails a guy with an acoustic guitar and smashes it on him. Like it's like
I've seen that.
it's on Netflix or Amazon maybe. Heckler. And it talks to all these comedians about their experiences with that. And
I watch a lot of videos on YouTube of comedians owning hecklers.
oh yeah.
Yeah, where they're just like they'll get somebody that'll heckle them, and then all of a sudden they just completely own this person. Ari Shaffir, are you familiar with Ari Shaffir? He's another one of those guys who's in that circle with Rogan.
Okay, I see he has a special. I haven't watched that one yet.
He's really funny. I think Double Negative is his. He's
Okay.
really, really funny. He's got this bit about how he doesn't have children, and all of his friends around him are acting like pretty much that like his life isn't as important as theirs because they have children, and he totally goes on this bit of defending himself, and this mom in the crowd starts heckling him, and he owns the shit out of this mom.
I think I may have seen this.
Dude, it's so good.
Okay, that actually sounds vaguely familiar.
It's so good, man. Ari Shaffir's another one. So I'm not discounting the fact that I am a person who listens to all these podcasts with all these comedians, and I'm feeling like, okay, so I feel like I know these people because I listen to them talk 2 or 3 times a week. I feel like they are as funny as that age of comedy when we had Carlin and Robin Williams, and as far back as Pryor and Red Fox.
Do you think they all have like a unique spin?
They see the world weirdly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I remember Dave Attell was super dark.
Yep.
Super dark, and then that Anthony Jeselnik guy is just so dark it's borderline really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Jim Jeffries is almost like that too,
Also,
a little bit, but
yeah.
he gets away with it because he has that quaint British accent.
He's Australian, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Same.
you know what I mean. He's got that. He can say those things because he's got that accent.
Yeah, it
He can get away with it.
cuts the edges off a little bit.
Yeah. It's so you could let Larry the Cable Guy do Jim Jeffries' set, see how that would go over.
But, and that's a whole
I
act.
try to mute this every time I take a sip because
That's a whole act too. The Cable Guy thing, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah, Dan something or other.
Dan. Yeah, he funny story about him that I heard on some podcast. But he used back in the day when there were VHS tapes, people would, make edits on the VHS tapes.
Okay.
There was this porn like an old VHS porn that was floating around all of the comedy store, all of the like comedy cellar or comedy clubs, like green rooms. He had edited himself into all of these porns. Like there would be like just porn going on, and then all of a sudden his face just like, or and then all of a sudden back to the porn, and it was like the funniest thing ever. They say he's like legit a genius, and just a legit funny person.
That's got to be a touring band. You have to deal with like band issues,
Yeah,
people issues, but just rolling. I mean, they're just rolling by themselves.
yeah, exactly.
Like actually, a friend of mine and Seth's from back in the day was like probably the merch and sound guy for Lewis Black for a while. This guy Jeff Costa. I don't know if you ever knew him. He hadn't lived here in a long
No,
time.
I didn't know him.
but
Lewis
yeah.
Black, I remember. He
Yeah.
was dark.
Oh yeah, super, super. Angry.
Yeah.
I'm going to rant about things, but everybody's got a shtick.
Yeah, I guess you got to stick to it when you pick it. Yeah, that era was pretty strong. We were talking about joke thieves in the messenger the other day.
Well, just throwing a topic out. And I don't know that much about it, but I hear about it like a little bit on the Stern.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it's so funny what certain comedians will consider theft.
It's a fine line.
It's a fine line, but like you were saying with the Dave Chappelle deal, like it's easy for somebody to have had similar experiences, and that's just maybe how the thing works. But if it's almost like, okay, I've heard this before, I've heard this other person do this, I'm hearing you do it now, therefore it cannot be original. I believe that if somebody has a thought, it's possible that somebody else has had that thought before, but they didn't need any help to get there themselves. They had that thought originally for themselves without knowing that somebody else had already had it. And I believe that's possible. But when you got people like Carlos Mencia,
Notorious, right?
Ned Flanders, his name is Ned Flanders. His real name, Carlos Mencia, is a stage name.
Well, his name's really not Ned Flanders, is it?
Yeah.
No way. I mean, if you say that's the case, then I'll take your word for it.
I'm pretty sure. I want to, since I'm saying that and you asked me, I want to make sure.
What is Ned even short for as a name?
Carlos Mencia, real name. Ned Arnell Mencia. His name, where did I get Ned Flanders from?
That's The Simpsons. But supposedly like him and like George Lopez have like huge beef, or George Lopez is like
Ned Flanders. Yeah, I totally stole that from Simpsons. That's where that came from. Sorry, I knew I was saying that wrong when you prompted. His name is Ned. Yeah, Ned Arnaz something. He changed his name legally to Carlos.
Yeah, and he's Honduran, and all his jokes are about Mexican
Yeah.
issues and things, and apparently none of them were his, or a lot of them. Like Rogan called him out. That was
He stole one of Ari Shaffir's jokes.
Oh, okay.
Ari Shaffir had this joke about Jewish people because he was the prominent Jewish comic back then. He still had when he still had like what do you call the hairstyle?
Like the beard.
Yeah, he still had all of that. I'm pretty
like
sure.
The
Whenever,
modest Yahoo.
yeah, I
thing?
think he was like Hasidic. Is that the correct term? Hasidic,
Yeah,
I
that's
believe.
correct. Yeah.
But yeah, he still had all that going on when he first started doing comedy. I'm pretty sure, and like all of his jokes were about how people treat like Jewish people who are obviously Jewish people.
Right.
And Carlos Mencia stole so many of those jokes and put the whole
Spin.
the whole spin on it. So like that's the thing that I'm like, okay, these people could have very well had the same experiences, but that's obvious theft.
Man, I wish I had tried to do a little bit more research and
No.
have some examples of it. But yeah, I mean,
No, and
it's also kind of like playing the hits too.
Yeah,
it
it
like,
is.
There's a certain, like
a cover comic.
I've never really, lived the Kings of Comedy life,
Is this dropping slowly?
but I've watched the Kings of Comedy like several times. That's hilarious to me.
Oh yeah, I'll watch it. Yeah, over and over, and the same comedy over and over, and it's just as funny every time.
Yeah, I watched. Okay, so probably was like maybe last winter or maybe last summer. I watched Delirious.
Ah, so good.
That would not be a big hit today.
No, it would not.
I was like Raw is still pretty raw, but Delirious, like I forgot how like
They got raunchy.
across the line of what's acceptable and
Yes.
and I'm not one of those guys who's like everything needs to be super PC or like PC sucks, like.
You're good.
But there was definitely like things in there that like just dropping like the F-bomb, not like
No, you're good. I just wanted to.
like the derogatory like homosexual like F-bomb like
Yeah.
in your comedy act, like you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. You
And
can't
that
say
was
that.
that was a huge like that was his big breaking point. Like after that it was Beverly Hills Cop and everything.
Yeah,
He would
it's
never
So funny.
he would never have been like a franchise movie star.
What would end a career today begins one then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but
Yeah.
but I did notice I was like, wow. I mean, like even like say like Cat Williams or somebody wouldn't be. I mean, he'll go different places in his stuff, but he won't go as hard as Eddie Murphy was in Delirious
Yeah.
on certain things.
He was a really good comedian. Unfortunately, he got his ass beat by like a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a big guy.
No, which is funny in itself.
No, he had
But-
a couple good specials there.
Oh,
his
yeah.
specials were pretty like
Yeah.
bang bang bang. He had a couple good ones.
Well, I will say this about Cat Williams. From what I could gather, is that he, all of the illegitimate children that he had, I think that he fathered all of them, like legit, like adopted all of them.
Yeah, I've heard some.
I
of
think
them.
that he's like the sole caretaker of all of his kids, if I'm not mistaken.
He does the Allen Iverson thing.
AI, baby, that's right.
Because Allen Iverson was floating the
Yeah.
whole fam.
Oh yeah, but yeah, he. I wonder what Cat Williams. I think he went down a bad road
Sure.
as of late, and it's just not been the best
I
thing.
mean, he had his like his arc. I mean, how many comedians maintain an arc or maintain whatever the term is, like a career without getting it while it's hot? Or
Yeah.
I'm gonna ration this out every 5 years.
I wonder.
And I think that, all the platforms have changed. I've been watching like those documentaries about 70s TV.
Yeah,
Like the Johnny Carson show, and even like when Seinfeld and all those guys were coming on. That was if you get on the Carson show, like
that was your ticket.
you're on, and you had different type of comedian back then. When I was in high school, it was like I guess Comedy Central first came out, and they had zero programming, so it was just tons of those like New York
Yeah.
and Chicago comedian Robert Klein and.
I don't know Robert Klein.
Oh yeah, he's one of probably like Carlin's contemporaries.
Okay.
So he's there's going old school, but these are like the career comedians, like the Vegas comedians,
Yeah.
and the L.A. comedians that were, like not Sam Kinison, but before that, but they've been, even at the Improv on A&E was a big thing, like because they just filled tons of. MTV had the half-hour comedy hour with Mario Joyner.
Yeah.
And
The Improv was great because there's so many different locations with that same sign.
right,
So like, you can have anybody from any improv location.
HBO used to be the big platform.
Yeah.
For stand-up comics because they could cuss.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And wow, I mean, like I remember even like in the '80s, everybody had like the weird like Miami Vice coat and the skinny tie.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
or something like that, or you had like like hell, even like Sinbad and Carrot Top, like all kind of like crazy, like old school.
Yeah, those poor people. God love them.
There used to be this girl, Judy Tenuta. She had an accordion and a whole shtick, like, and it was like a whole thing. And she would be on like, there'd be 4 female comedians. It'd be like her, Ellen, Paula Poundstone, and somebody else. I can't remember her name, but they were all funny. But it was all new, Other than seeing somebody 5 minutes on Carson,
Yeah.
there wasn't any stand-up comic.
No long form.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember like watching like Bob Hope, like USO specials with my grandparents and stuff like that too. So you had those, comedy's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've never actually like gone back and listened to like a Lenny Bruce album or any of that
Nor
stuff.
have I.
I've
got a lot of old
those
Bill
are
Cosby albums.
Okay.
Which,
Old Bill.
all right. How am I supposed to feel about this? Am I supposed to not listen to these Bill Cosby records?
Yeah, I just gotta separate it. And, like I was talking about how much, jazz and blues music was introduced to people from the Cosby Show. To somebody just recently. And, I was like, yeah, but, just let that be that. I mean, Fat Albert and Cosby Kids was awesome. I hate that he was a terrible person.
Yeah, I do. I do too. I hate that all this shit happened.
I mean, I can't say anything in his defense, but.
Nor can I. But I've mentioned, like, I've got several of those. I've got several Bill Cosby vinyl. And it's like, I'm not going to get rid of those records because here's the thing. Bill Cosby, what did Dave Chappelle say about him?
I will not go on this podcast and quote that.
I'm not gonna.
I know it was he caught a lot of heat for that. Let's just say Dave Chappelle caught a lot of heat for that. You can Google it, but
like Bill Cosby paid for the PA system that Martin Luther King spoke through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna. There's no way that you can rationalize what he did.
You would have to throw out 50% of your record collection.
Yeah.
I mean, Led Zeppelin gone by. I mean, if we want to make moral judgments, I'm just going to enjoy what I do. And, one time when we went to see the High Water Music Festival a couple years ago, me and Jen and Kramer and Lana went down there and we saw a bunch of good people. And we stayed at that hotel right by the North Charleston thing.
Yeah.
And we're at the hotel bar after the show, and something over at the Coliseum let out, and everybody is suited and booted, like kings of comedy.
Yeah.
Like hats, purple suits, gaiters, the whole thing. And I was like, all right, man, it's like Cedric the Entertainer over there, something. R. Kelly was playing right next door at the hotel, and it was packed. Like the whole R. Kelly show came over, and it was, they don't care.
Damn. That's pretty awesome.
It wasn't. He wasn't there. No, but like, he's got a pretty bad rep. But they were just, like, they're there for the songs.
Oh, I get where you're going.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about Bill Cosby. We're talking about Jimmy Page. We're talking about whoever in bad behavior.
Oh yeah.
And like, are you going to stop liking Led Zeppelin because they did some really terrible things or whatever? But R. Kelly sold out the damn, or I don't know if he sold it out, but it was packed. Like, we were like, who just let out over at the Coliseum, because the hotel was right next to it.
Yeah.
It was R. Kelly.
Huh.
Packed the house.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter what you did.
I mean, and this is like way after all the news.
Bill's not going to pack no houses.
No.
Bill's not going to be packing no houses.
No, that's a different, all that.
Did you hear Norm Macdonald's joke about it?
No.
He said, Patton Oswalt said, you know what the worst thing about this whole Bill Cosby deal is the hypocrisy. Norm Macdonald said, man, I think it's the raping.
Yeah, that would definitely be the worst thing about it.
He's like, because you don't ever hear anybody going around. It's like, don't you dare quote me on this stuff because I'm repeating something somebody else said. You don't ever hear anybody go around it's like, man, I just love to rape. I just love to do it all the time. But it's well, at least he's not a hypocrite. Seeing how that's the worst part. That was Norm's joke.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean,
Gosh, Norm is so great. I know this awful. That's like just a horrible thing to joke about. But Norm Macdonald has his way of just being like bringing awareness to this thing while also keeping his comedy.
he throws a change up.
Yes, absolutely he
He
does.
throws a change up at you. So let's talk about clean comedians.
Brian Regan.
Oh man, you beat me to the punch. Brian Regan's good. He was like
Yeah.
when I talked about like the first days like Comedy Central being out. He was on there all the time. He had this great bit about the fishing show. He's like, so I'm out in Hollywood trying to be an actor, and go on all these like casting calls and stuff, and then I go home and I'm sitting in the hotel waiting for the phone to ring, and I'm watching a fishing show, and I'm looking at the credits, and I'm like, screenwriter. What's a screenwriter do for a fishing show? Like, oh, that's a beauty. Or and he has all these like good one-liners.
I can hear him saying it in his face. Oh,
He's like, but you know who I feel really bad for? The editor. He's like, that whole 8 hours where we were waiting for the fish to come around and nothing happened. We gotta tighten that up. But no, Brian Regan is really funny.
he had a bit about the a phone cord, like one of these phone cords right here. He was like, you have a bit, or about man being on the moon. It's like everybody wants to blame everything on man going to the moon. It's like we can put a man on the moon, but we can't make a phone cord that won't bunch up. He said, but man, if man had never gone to the moon, their life would just be so much better. It'd be like, hey, is that phone cord bunching up on you, bothering you? No, man, we haven't even had a man on the moon yet. Yeah, clean comedy is so weird, but it's like after you watch a few minutes of it, you don't even notice anymore that it's not dirty.
Yeah, my dad's like a big hippie and all that stuff. But he doesn't like profanity a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he worked construction for years. I mean, so like there's a
Yeah,
time
yeah.
and a place like for profanity, but
Sure.
he's like, he would never watch like a lot of the things that I think are funny.
Yeah, my dad's the same way.
And but yeah, there's definitely a place for that, like that. Jim Gaffigan's one of those clean
Yeah.
comics. Seinfeld always kept it clean.
Seinfeld was another one too that I didn't realize how much I appreciated him until I watched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
That was good. I watched a good bit of that.
Those are really good. Yeah, I can't wait for more of those. I would watch hours upon hours of that. I've watched the whole collection probably three
yeah.
times.
Yeah, he had
Easily.
everybody on there.
Just and there were so many comics that I didn't know I really appreciated too until I watched that. You get to see. I don't know. I didn't really peg Alec Baldwin as being a funny guy, but he's pretty funny.
He's multi-talented.
Yeah, he's
had-
also a jerk.
Yeah. I mean, he's cocky and all these things, but
He's good.
he lost his terrible New York accent. Not terrible New York accent. Don't take
Yeah.
offense, but he had I heard him talk about it. He had to take classes to lose. To get to where he is in his career.
Yeah, shed his. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to do that.
Like the Australians that do the perfect American accent.
Yeah. Well, Alec Baldwin is such a good actor that he could just stay in that character all the time. Like he could still pull out how he talks, but he definitely just it's easier for him to stay in that character. You could see in the Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee that he was just like snippy with the waitress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty funny to watch.
I mean, I have friends from that part of New York, and they just say that's kind of how people are.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, but
Yeah, that's how they're trained to be.
one friend of mine here, here it's sweet tea and ranch, and or whatever at the bar, and she's like, well, I worked in Miami, and it's a whole different level of I need this, that, like the menu is just out the door. Like, and I need this, and make it a wedge, not a slice. And,
Yeah.
like, and like,
In Miami, really?
yeah.
That's how the people are?
Yeah.
I went into this store in Miami one time, and this dude, like, they pretty much came up to me and told me to get out of the store. Like, and I was just, like, it was an open store, but they were just like, we don't need you in the store. Like, we don't want you here. Like, I guess they could tell that I was a tourist or whatever. I was from out of town. It's like, we don't want you here. You get out.
Well,
It's like, oh, it was like a random beachwear store or something like that. People were weird.
should have told me you're from Myrtle Beach.
Oh, so this is home.
Hey, we got some saltwater taffy. We need you to drive out to Myrtle Beach for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Saltwater taffy.
Sure. They found a pigeon with 20 ecstasy pills on its back.
Where?
I don't know. And it could be a fake story because you never know these days. And I didn't read the article.
It wasn't the Onion.
No, it wasn't the Onion, I'm pretty sure. But I do follow the Onion and Clickhole and share a lot of that stuff.
That's funny stuff, yeah.
It really is.
Hard Times Net is another good one.
Yeah.
That one's all like punk rock and band oriented stuff, but
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those. They've shared a couple of shred videos, I think. Or no, maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking something different. Either way, but yeah, I'll going back to the Jerry Seinfeld thing.
Yeah,
and Clean Comics.
yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld. Once you get to the point to where you can get past that whole high pitched thing that he does. Once you get past the thing that everybody says bothers them, he's really, really funny. Like, really smart and so fast and so calculated about how he does and notices so many odd things, which you can tell in the show.
They say his work ethic is like
Unreal.
yeah, he's like Bella Fleck used to practice banjo like 15 hours a day, 18 on a bender.
Yeah.
Like he's constantly working.
No wonder he's so good.
Yeah.
He also writes like actual, like with his, pen and paper, which a lot of people have updated their act.
Yeah, that was on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't write lyrics or ideas like it's all, that's why I have a bunch of scraps of paper. But
I'll write on my phone.
Will you?
Yeah.
Do you do the just like voice to text thing? Or
No, I'll because I won't know how a song's supposed to go. I'll write a poem,
okay.
and then figure out how it should be sung.
Like here's a verse or here's a couple lines.
Yeah, it'll always start with a line. Like I'll hear a line or hear somebody say something or think of something, and then I'm like, okay, that's good, and I'll just write down that one line, and then just leave it. And then one day I'll be like, I don't have anything to do right now. What can I do? Should I write something? Let's see. And I'll just open up my notebook and my phone and I'll see what line jumps out at me and I'll click it and I'll just whatever triggers me. And sometimes I'll just look through it and just be like, yeah, not today. It's just not the time. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Just it's not supposed to work. But yeah, sometimes it does.
There you go. That's good use.
Yeah, but
Good use of technology.
Yeah, I was talking with Tommy about that. I was like, we learned how to use the Dewey Decimal System, and then we were gifted the internet and technology. Like it's great once you learn how to use things like that as a tool. But I do write a lot of things. I have serial killer handwriting. It's really creepy, and I can't read it once I write it, unless I study it really hard. It's bad.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how Seinfeld does it.
Chicken scratch.
Yeah, it is. My teachers used to say, just take your time. I'm like, I can't. I think faster than I can write.
No, I got that same thing. I'm left-handed, too, so it's just a whole calamity of errors going on there.
I was supposed to be left-handed, but my granddad kept putting things in my right hand when I was a kid. So, technically, I would have been left-handed had they just let me go. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about funny things.
Funny things.
Funny things.
So, You're on the podcast platform for a lot of these comedians now. I don't listen to too much of them. I mean, other than what I hear on a little bit of Satellite Radio, which they have a whole channel of nothing but bits after bits after bits.
Yeah.
Which like is good for road trips.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Then I got Netflix, which is like 50% stand-up comedy specials right now.
They're funding so much of that.
Yeah, and hopefully it works out. Hopefully it doesn't have a
Implosion.
Oversaturation implosion kind of thing.
Well,
because I mean, there's really really funny ones, but they don't have a chance to. I don't know, like that Ali Wong one was hilarious.
oh yeah, both of hers are great.
D. Ray Davis, that guy.
I haven't watched him.
He used to be roommates with Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle at one point,
Oh shit.
and he's just slays it. Really, really funny, and like he's lost in the,
Yeah, he's just lost in the weeds because there's so much other shit.
so much.
I watch a lot of stand up and I try to catch all of them. I try to watch them all. Like if I get to the point
lot
where
to
I'm
keep up with.
looking through a list of stand up because you watched blah blah blah.
I go 15 minutes in, and if I'm not really
Same here.
starting to feel it, I abandon
I'll
shit.
give up.
Yeah.
I did that with Trevor Noah's new one, doing voices and something that's outside of his norm.
I feel like he
think.
just had a stand-up special recently.
Yeah,
Like let it breathe a minute.
yeah, exactly.
And also, I do like watch a lot of the, I guess like what do you call it, maybe the hipster comedians, and I try, but if they all start sounding like cutting the same jokes or
Yeah,
going too obvious with politics jokes or something like that,
yeah. I don't want to hear nothing about politics. I don't want to hear anything about.
I
that
mean,
shit.
it better be good.
Yeah, if it's good, if it's funny, good.
better
But
be
don't make
good.
your whole show about this. Those are cheap shots, man.
It's like the low hanging fruit,
Yeah, very low hanging fruit. Like, don't do that.
and
Those.
it also dates you. Like your stuff won't hold up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was talking about SNL with somebody like last year when they were going so hard with Baldwin and Trump and all that, and I was like, they kind of need to start writing. Like you gotta have to hit the news the headlines, but you gotta have to start writing some like original. Like I don't think they really have like getting to SNL, like they used to have like recurring skits that were like hits, and
Schlitz beer.
or like Hans and Franz or the church
Yeah.
lady or so. People had characters,
Yeah.
and now I don't really see too much of that.
There's
Now,
more impersonations than characters now.
yeah.
And maybe is it because there's so much more stuff to make fun of these days?
I get all the jokes that they do on SNL, but I know a lot of people who don't really like understand what like a hipster MGMT Brooklyn band is like, or like the god awful like modern trap rap
Yes.
stuff like that gotta fall super flat on a lot of people, and I'm far from like the hippest guy or anything like that, but like I get their jokes, but if you're not kind of in like on a couple like modern trends of things, it falls flat.
Yeah, that's true.
And I try hard every week, and I laugh at like half of it.
I'll watch it if there's a good host.
The host makes a big difference.
Yeah.
The game shows are always funny because it's all impersonations. You
Yeah.
got all these punchlines, but
Anything Keenan does is going to be great.
like that picture you put up with like the 92 two cast. I mean, that's
Strong, man. Like that was the last really good cast.
I think Dana Carvey, and it's a hard one with Phil Hartman. I think Dana Carvey is the MVP of the whole show, in the whole 40 years.
He never ran out of characters.
He's
And
unstoppable.
nor will he. Did you watch his stand up?
It's great.
Yeah, 40 white male.
60
Or
male white 60.
Yeah, male white. There you go.
It was hilarious, and and that was definitely like my from seventh grade where you stay up late enough to watch some Saturday Night Live to like graduating high school. Those were my years. You know, my uncle Ralph has like the best line ever. You know, because he was around when, of course, when like the whole thing like started. He's like, you know, Saturday Night Live. You know, it used to be hard to get home in time to watch it. Now I just hope I can stay awake.
That's true.
But yeah, like, and Lorne Michaels even said on that, I think on that Norm Macdonald show or maybe on Howard one day or something that everybody tends to associate the best cast with like these certain years
In their lives.
like 14 to 20 or
Yeah.
something like that. Because, you know, like my buddy Danny is a hilarious dude. And, you know, he's like full on the Will Ferrell years.
Yeah.
You know, he knows all that stuff. And like I know a few other people are in that way, like, which was all hilarious. But I remember at the time when it came out, everybody was hating on him. Like, you know, there was like, for all the classic Will Ferrell year
Yeah.
skits, there was tons where people were like, what is this?
Yeah, I like the Will Ferrell years. Those were very strong. But you're not gonna top Sandler, Farley, Rock, Spade. You're not gonna. That's not gonna be touched.
Yeah.
And I know that I might be biased because that is my era
I mean,
of
Mike
when
Myers
I was
was
growing
on
up. Yes, absolutely. There was just so many Meadows, just so many, and that was like right after that we got Keenan. And as an all that kid, which I don't know if you caught that thing that me and
I know what you're talking about, but I was like,
Yeah.
that's that 10-year gap, big right there.
dude, all that was literally just like
It's like Nickelodeon show, right?
yeah, it was on Nickelodeon, but it was Saturday Night Live, and it wasn't completely live. It was somewhat, scripted, obviously, but so was Saturday Night Live, for the most part. It's scripted in a way, but they're just when they get out there, if the script goes out the window, they just have to deal with it. But this, I think they give them a couple takes because they're kids or whatever. But it was awesome. It was great for me. And then I got him, this kid that I grew up with, who was like a couple years older than me, and I look up to, and like, this kid's on Nickelodeon doing comedy, and now he's on Saturday Night Live. It was awesome. It was great. It's all he's ever done in his life.
I mean, he's the longest tenured person.
Yes, he is.
On the show.
Yep.
Tim Meadows used to be the guy.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I looked when somebody asked, who was that had asked if Tim Meadows was still a
Before
cast
that,
member.
I think it was probably Phil Hartman for a while.
R.I.P. Phil. They say that they knew. A lot of comics say that they knew how crazy his wife was. And they knew that she would one day do what she did.
Wow. I think I have heard some allusions to that, but that's sad.
Yeah, isn't it though?
Yeah, he was really, really, really talented.
Greatest TV dad of all time, probably. If you and I don't know why I think that.
Was that
I
News
just,
Radio?
Well, no, that I just think of that wasn't just in from the Matt Foley bit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just from that, I just feel like he's just that. Phil Hartman just looks like Dad. He looks like that.
every 50s like
Just very respectable, like
Ward Cleaver. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like that, and I've always said that.
He
He
has
just
the voice.
Yeah, he looks like Dad.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
He was great character.
Great.
But you mentioned Chris Rock. So there's somebody who I thought he had some really funny sketches, but and I've heard a lot about, but somebody who maybe didn't shine as hard in sketch comedy, but when you put him on the stand up, he ran away with it.
Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you've seen him in movies. His movies are,
yeah. He seems like he's not so comfortable outside of stand up. He seems like it's forced otherwise.
That's his thing. Yeah.
Which is weird because it seems like it would be easier to the other way around, like where maybe it's odd that if he has to rely on other people to do things other than himself, he's worried about things. Maybe it's a control situation, because I'm sort of like that. Like, I feel like my gigs are better when I don't have anybody else there for some reason. Just not necessarily. I believe they're better. Like it just I feel better when I don't have to rely on.
Less distractions.
Yes. I don't want to be misunderstood by that. Like I like playing with people, obviously, but
No. I mean, like, we had a really good gig last weekend or the weekend before, and all of our friends were there, and it was just like super awesome.
yeah,
But we were just exhausted, between like rocking the gig, talking to everyone on break, going to the next set, and then distractions.
yes. There's a lot of distractions.
But no, Chris Rock, like they say it was hard for him to like get his humor past the writing table on SNL a lot.
Yeah.
He only had a few things that really worked and didn't really have the impression situation going down. But then he had his a little bit of movie run, but those stand-up specials pretty much made it.
Yeah,
His last one was still pretty good.
I watched it. It took me a couple times to watch it. Like I cut it off a couple times before I actually watched it all the way through.
It's hard to follow up. It's hard to follow
Yeah.
up to some of those. Like Chappelle did well, but even then, like they're trying to measure you by like, there's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason Led Zeppelin's not going on a reunion tour.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like let's keep it here.
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't know. I just feel like, and it was a little more political driven, and I just don't. That doesn't entice me.
I have to watch it again or not, but I
Yeah.
did watch it once, and I was like, okay, but it definitely wasn't hitting as hard.
Yeah, and you just expect for them to come out and hit just as hard as they used to, like Sandler. Have you watched that one?
I tried. I tried to. I didn't.
Really?
I was, I'm gonna have to give it another shot. Well, maybe when I'm not multitasking or something like that,
Yeah.
and like just lay on the couch and watch it. But before you said that, I was gonna say the one that I thought I got probably the hardest laughs out of in the last couple of years was not the last one, but one of the other two Bill Burr ones I thought were really funny.
Yeah, he doesn't. He holds no punches.
I thought, and he doesn't cross the line too hard. I don't think.
Nah, he's got a good podcast too.
Sure. I mean, he's been on Stern a bunch, and,
Yeah.
and I've watched his stand-ups. He's really funny. Who else is?
I like Bill Burr a lot. Have you watched F is for Family? You watched this cartoon on Netflix?
I watched like an episode of it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
What do you think of Hannibal Buress?
I like Hannibal Buress. Hannibal Buress, if you pay close attention, and Joe Rogan pointed this out, if you pay close attention and listen to Hannibal Buress and his delivery and his style of saying things, he sounds a lot like Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah, it's that hold back, like
In a way, they're talking about like Hedberg apparently was, or Hannibal's not necessarily. It just sounds like they have a very similar delivery. Mm-hmm. Like very, very similar delivery, and even their voices sound very similar. I like Hannibal Buress. I've listened to him on several podcasts, and I like his viewpoint. He seems smart.
yeah, he's sharp.
Yeah.
Where are they all out of New York? Or
I'm pretty sure he's out of New York. Yeah. There's only two places where comics live: L.A. or New York.
yeah, you really can't.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere else if you want to work.
I can't imagine.
Well, Doug Stanhope, who lives in Bisbee, Arizona.
I mean, I'm sure there's people who do like the driving and crying tour.
Yo, yeah.
They go out and hit 3 states in 2 weeks and knock out Charlotte, Raleigh,
Oh, yeah.
Richmond, something, Savannah.
See, that's what I'm hoping that all this comedy that we're getting will lead to. That maybe we'll be able to get comedy in this area.
I was really excited about the thing at Bubba's that was sort of going to happen for a minute there.
Yeah,
But it's tough.
I'll take blame for that not happening. I guess I kind of have to air it out. we were going to do this thing just for the listener's sake. We were going to do this thing at Bubba's where there would be stand up. There would be a little like stand up between bingo games and open mic between bingo games. And there was a certain, and not to divulge too much information, there was a certain agreed upon price that I had agreed to do said thing, and that number changed. So did my commitment. So and then that's like I could have said, you know what, I'll just take less to do this, but that would conflict me elsewhere on the Marsh Walk for other things, you know. And I hate that we didn't get the opportunity to do that, but
I had no idea.
No, yeah, I hate that we didn't get the opportunity to do that, but I don't know, that I was sort of looking forward to being able to get some stand up time, just get some time in, just stand up in front of a few of my friends people I know, and they're like, I don't know, they're just people I know. You know, I don't have to really worry about.
There was one guy
stand up in front of strangers.
There was one guy who did maybe one or two like stand up shows at Bourbon Street like in the last year or two. Maybe it was the same guy, maybe it was two different guys.
Yeah.
It really didn't happen much, but it was all about like stocking the place with your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Because otherwise that's a cold room. Like an empty room, doing stand up to the bartender, like it's playing guitar to the bartender and two people who are watching the football games. Tough enough, like go out and start telling jokes. But yeah, I mean that's a tough one.
Well, plus if it's, you think about it, when you watch a comedian you've never heard of before and you're not familiar with their delivery, you don't know what to expect, you don't know who they are or what kind of person they are. So some things that they say might be really funny if you understand who this person is, but someone who doesn't might not get.
True, and also, if their delivery's, green, the joke might be really funny, but if they don't come out of the gates like, they're walking out on stage at, the Opry or something like that, like confident, like if they don't come out confident right off the bat, like it's almost like blood in the water.
They usually there's a trick that they say that a lot of old heads will say, hey, what bit are you going to close with tonight? What's your best bit? And they're like, he'll tell them their best bit, and he'll be like, all right, now go out there and open with that.
I hear you.
So now go out there and open with that. Like, go out there and open with your heaviest
strongest
bit.
Thing, yeah.
Because the confidence that you get from that immediate laughter is going to ride you through for the rest, and that'll make your final shit close or better. Or you'll come up with something on the way. Wing it. One of Jen's
clients, this guy, he's a classic character. He's something else. That's a whole other story. But anyway, he's like, yeah. Whenever you get nervous, just go out there and pretend everybody owes you money. The whole thing is like, pretend everybody's naked or something like that. That's it's like just go out there and pretend they owe you money.
That's actually genius. Go out there and pretend they owe you money. You're not gonna be.
That's the way he does, like real estate and hustling. Yeah, he's a preacher, all kind of stuff like that. Like he's like fisherman, preacher, real estate entrepreneur.
Goodness, go out there like they owe you money. I wonder if you do that at church, sir. Oh man, but yeah. So a lot of stand-up, dude. A lot of preachers are really good stand-up comedians. Jerry Clower.
Okay, yeah.
That time, like he could have been a preacher. He had that banter, that timing.
Sam Kinison was a preacher.
Sam Kinison was a preacher. I forgot about
Pentecostal, that. Like Pentecostal Baptist or Pentecostal Bible or something like that. Like the
ones that scream like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I was going to bring him up as like people who are like comedians, because like most comedians go out and tell a story or tell a joke, or they talk about the girlfriend or this, that, and but that was like he had like a kind of like a character, like an act.
Yeah,
like Dice Clay had like a character.
Yeah, he had a bit. Yeah.
Robin Williams is Robin Williams. That's not an act or anything. That's just spontaneous
Yeah.
improv. Who else is unique like that? It's got like their thing. You know, I mean, I could say like Bernie Mac, but that's not
Well,
really. I mean, he's Bernie Mac.
For stand up, the argument can be made for Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
He has a stick. He comes out, he plays a few funny songs and does bits in between. Like it's just like all of his stand ups were like partly songs. Like,
Yeah,
I
Jim
remember
Brewer
like
does-
what the hell happened to me. Jim Brewer as well. Yeah, he does. He has a lot of like props, like audio props.
Adam Sandler's old stuff was so. I mean, not so dirty, but
Yeah.
it was a lot dirtier than people would think. Like I remember
Yeah.
having I think it's called "What the Hell Happened to Me."
Yeah, what the hell happened
Like
to
the-
me? Yeah,
the- like the
one
original
with the goat.
cassette, yeah.
I had that. That's the one I was referring to.
You know, an idiot's interview with the college admissions or whatever.
Yeah. Or the goat.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, all of it, dude. It was so
medium
good.
pace. Yeah.
I stole that tape or CD from my Aunt Marie. Like I wasn't supposed to hear that when I heard that, but I could quote the whole goat bit and all that shit when I was way too young
How
to
old
do
were
so.
you?
Probably 10.
Okay, so my closest thing to that would be, you know, aside from I guess Eddie Murphy coming around, but I remember being out in Conway, like out in the woodshed, listening to Luke Skywalker and the Two Live Crew. Like before it was like Luther Campbell, before it was just
Yeah.
Two Live Crew, it was just profane. You know, like profane. Like they're like, oh, we were down listening to the Red Fox, you know, with the volume
Yeah.
low. We'd be out in like the wood shop, you know, listening to just be like, oh, I can't believe we said. And I heard this, and like now it's just so immature and just awful.
Yeah.
And I heard the country equivalent of that the other day.
Wheeler Walker Jr.
Oh man, it's terrible, right?
I love Wheeler Walker. I don't listen
mean-
to his music. I don't listen to his music at all because it's just
I've seen him on the podcast.
too much, but yeah.
I mean, he's a character, but man, it's just bad. Oh,
it's just too much.
yeah, I put it on like for a few seconds just to listen to it. Jen was like, "Turn that shit off." It was just
Yeah.
But he's like out there selling records, doing that.
Yeah, man, packing houses, dude. He was the first country artist to debut his music video via Pornhub.
Well, okay, probably so.
He was. That's a record. I've listened to him. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple times. I think.
I heard him talking about how he thought Sturgill was a CIA agent and all that one day or something like that.
Yeah, because he won't. I think he's just messing with Sturgill, but Sturgill won't like do anything with him or anything. I don't think anybody wants to do anything with him just because he's so fucking crazy. But Rogan will have him on the podcast as he has nothing to lose, and obviously the crazier a person is, the better it is for him.
I mean, that what he's doing is basically country 2 Live Crew.
Yeah, it really is. It's stretching way too far.
And that had to go through like several channels of like artist development and like signing. We're going to negotiate this contract, and they're like, all right, we're going to make this happen.
Yep,
Wow.
that's what the people want now.
You know, me and Jen were loading in to a gig recently, and we got there, and luckily the landscape of the jukebox changed. But when we first got there, like I always forget how just bad like the new country.
Oh Jesus,
Man,
it's equally the new version of country and rap are both equally disappointing.
yeah, for mostly the same reasons but different reasons.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, for instance, like we pulled up and it sounded like some kind of tailgate country song, but it was like throw your hands in the air, wave 'em like you just don't care. Just, and then they talked about like a Yeti cooler and some specific like brand of like headlights.
That's so dumb. Wonder if that's what it is. Wonder if all of these corporations are getting into the music industry and they're saying like, write us a song with our brand of liquor.
I've heard a
in
lot
this.
of like it's only when I'm like setting up or breaking down from gigs because like especially if it's a place I play a lot, I usually take over
Yeah.
with an iPod just to kind of keep things consistent.
That's a good idea. I should do that more often.
It helps. It helps keep me from going in cold. Like
Yeah.
like I've come in cold with the apron strings like thing we do like right off of everybody like losing their mind to like some 1994 Biggie Smalls.
Yeah.
And that's like, all right, 7:30, let's go. You know?
Yeah.
Hey y'all.
Howdy.
So it's nice to keep the, and you can kind of stack the deck in your favor that way. 'Cause
Yeah,
you can
for
still,
sure.
You can still play things that they like and get them ready for you. But if it's too cold of a turn from, I don't know, you never know what's going to be on the jukebox.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
no, every time I walk into that situation where it's a load in or a breakdown with the turn it up, oh man.
Dude, it's just awful. I know what you mean. And those are the only times that I hear those songs.
She looks good in my ball cap.
Or I was talking to Denver last night at Tito's, a girl named Denver, talking about. I mentioned that there was a song, "Take a Drunk Girl Home,"
Oh yeah.
but she was like, "Oh no, it's like there's a good message behind it. It's all
Have we
about
talked
doing
about
the
this
right
before?
thing." Maybe.
Yeah, okay, so I had a grandfather and his grandson request that from me last summer up at a spot up in North Myrtle. Or maybe his granddaughter. It might have been his granddaughter, honestly. And okay, so, and I had to like kind of wrap my head around it, and I went home and listened to the song, and it's about basically you're a good guy because you didn't do anything terrible.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And
Yeah.
and I discussed it with somebody else who like was a little bit more whatever. But I was just like, that's just not a song I want to write.
Yeah, man. You
You
don't
know?
want your name on that. I mean,
Kelsey Hudgens, he wrote that song. Take a drunk
girl home. Like, dude, this is not good. I mean, the title is bad.
And and he probably didn't even write that song.
Of course not.
And
I,
he was
I feel
like-
certain.
The carrot and the looming pressure of like, I need to make a hit.
You want to make it? You want to be one of those guys?
Yeah, go down the crossroads, wait for the bad songwriter to show up at midnight.
Yeah.
And-
he's gonna hand you a briefcase and a pen. You sign that piece of paper, and you take that lyric sheet that he is giving you, and you come back here, and we're gonna cut whatever song he hands you. And this dude looks at it, and he's like, "Fuck." Do they really want it that bad, man? I guess that I just don't want it that bad.
There's, what we're able to do is pretty cool,
Yeah.
but the whole like Brad Pitt leaving Kansas to go to Hollywood and I'm gonna be an actor.
Yeah.
That's like some belief and commitment there. Or
Well, also he looks like Brad Pitt.
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean.
Well, that was just the example
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like people from it ain't gonna really, you gotta want to chase it.
Yes.
And I still want to chase it, but like from
From afar.
from the peripheral, like
It's like instead of chasing the hubcaps, now we just raise our head up from the porch and look at it.
well,
That's what I'm at.
I mean, there's just no at this point. I don't see there's any like people are like, we've talked about like, are you gonna go on The Voice? Or are you gonna move to this town or that town? And I'm like, man, if I went to Atlanta, I would get eaten alive. I got
Yeah.
a good thing going on right now, and like I can still kind of work on making it better, and
Yeah.
working on like doing like the thing that I really want to do. And
It'd be the same thing with building a house. You've got your house exactly the way you want to do it. You want to go to a new house and do everything all over again. Everything that I've worked so hard for is here already.
I'm still working on this one.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Same here.
I hope to do some renovations.
Yeah. Don't we all? So we're scooting up on that hour and a half point.
That's cool. Let's what are your closing thoughts or topics? Let's bullet point it or something real quick.
I will say that, yeah, there are a lot of comedians, there are a lot of comics out there right now. There is possibility for oversaturation. But I think that will inevitably be a good thing because it's giving us so much to choose from that there's going to be a comic that everybody likes, or there's at least one comic for everybody. There's somebody out there that one person can be like, okay, this person's okay, and everybody else can hate them, but for one person that keeps comedy alive, and I think that's very important in this day and age. So I'm not as worried about the oversaturation of comedy. I'm actually kind of excited that it's giving people so much to choose from, so that everybody will find that thing that makes them.
The rising tide floats all boats.
Yes.
Wow, now we're just getting warmed up. And all the '80s comedians, their whole big thing was to land a sitcom.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That was the you hit.
That's when you make it.
You go to Carson, you kill it, then you pick your sitcom that you want to do, and then you maybe go into movies.
Yep.
And stuff like that. This one friend or girl I know, friend of Jay McAllister's that used to go to Coastal, she's a stand-up comic in New York, and she does acting work, modeling work, all that stuff. Walker Hayes, plug that. But when she's working like stand-up, she'll do 5 gigs a night. Her set might only be 20 minutes.
Yep.
And she's
Hit
working
different clubs.
She's working from 6 or 7 until 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And going bing, 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 bing. Like that's
the thing. You graduate. That's what comedy is becoming now. Instead of like you get your sitcom and you get your movie and all this, it's like you start off. We'll give you 10 minutes, then you get 20. You're graduated up to where you get an hour special.
Yeah, the hour special is the brass ring right now.
Yep. I'm glad there's a lot of them. I appreciate.
I think her name's Nikki Glazer. I thought that one was pretty funny. Actually.
Nikki Glazer is very good. Follow her on. I think she's gorgeous. I follow her on the Instagram.
She's the medium length blonde one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's longer now. I keep my eye on Nikki. Yeah, she's funny. There's a lot of really good comedians. Watch Christina Pajitsky. Watch Mother Inferior. Watch that.
Okay.
Her stand up. Tom Segura's wife. Burt Kreischer. All of those
I've
names.
never heard that one.
Burt Kreischer is the guy who did "I Am the Machine" with his shirt off. The shirtless comedian that does the Russian train bit. It's funny. If you got time, we'll listen to that in a bit. But it's good. Listen to those things. I seek out comedy. Keep comedy alive. There's certain things that can't be joked about, but give comics a break. Their job is to make a joke. It's not that they believe the things that they're saying, because they don't. They don't believe what they're saying. They're trying to make us laugh. That's all that it is.
Definitely what he said.
I guess that's a good closing thought. How about a closing thought from you? I feel like I've hijacked the closing.
No, I couldn't have said it better. Watch Robin Williams take on golf. If you're ever having a bad day and you got 2 minutes to spare, there's tons of things that definitely will put a smile on your face. And oh man, I wish I had time to really rack my brain for some of the other classics, but there's so many.
Well, we can make this a 2-part if you want. We can.
We'll do some homework. We'll come back and next time we'll talk about skateboarding.
Yeah.
And old school hip hop.
Bucky Lassick.
Yeah.
That's my random skateboard name. What's your random skateboard name?
My random skateboard name?
Yeah.
Sean Sheffy.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
I know who Bucky Lassick is, but yeah, skateboarding definitely was a big fun thing.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get back to the folks on that one. So when do you want to do that one? When do you want to tell the good people when will you be back?
Oh well, I'm not sure what your schedule is.
I don't know either, man. I don't keep anything planned like that. This is a Mark Maron.
Either before Christmas or after Christmas.
Let's plan on that. We'll do a part 2 of the comedy talk. I think I'm going to call this one the comedy talk.
Comedy talk.
The comedy talk. Just simple.
Yeah, we'll hit up some more bullet points and then come in ready.
I'll make sure to specify that this is part 1 as well, as to where there will be a part 2. So Adam and Smitty are about to be here any minute now. We're going to record some songs, some original songs.
Nice.
Get a practice session in, and then we're gonna take this show to probably the Ed Dennis world.
Oh, nice.
After we're gonna shake them out in here and get a couple of rough recordings of them
great.
and try to shake them out. And
Is this
see
new
what
spot
happens.
finished up yet?
not quite, but he's getting it there. Have you seen it where it's gonna be yet?
No, I haven't seen it since the old place.
Dude, it's I went over to his house where they're building it, man. He's gonna have like headphone jacks coming out of the walls and all of his everything's gonna be state of the art. It's gonna be awesome.
Totally not surprised.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. But yeah, anyway, this boy's gonna be here in a minute, brother Jeff.
All right, hey,
Appreciate you
always a
being
good
here.
time, man. It's
Always a
fun.
good time.
We get to hang out, but with headphones.
Hanging out with headphones. Good game. Hit subscribe to all of the links that you will see at the bottom of the page after I do the intro. Give me a second to do the intro. All right, y'all. Enjoy your day. In a world full of shitty people, don't be that person. Don't be a shitty person. Be a good person. You have every opportunity and all the power to change how a person's day goes. Use that power wisely. Peace, bitches. Now let's do an intro here real quick. Now you can. You're off the clock.
All righty.
You're off the clock. All right, here, let me do this here real quick. Hey guys, how you living? You doing well? Good. Glad to hear that. So in this episode, buddy Jeff Thomas stopped by to talk about comedy. We talked about one of my favorite things in the world. I could talk forever about this. And in fact, when we were doing the closing bit, closing bit. We're doing the closing bit. We decided that we were going to be doing a part 2 of this thing because it's there's no way that we can get everything out that we wanted to talk about in just one episode of this. So stay tuned for part 2 of this, which will be coming up between now and Christmas or a little after. We'll iron out the days, and I'll keep you posted on when that's going to be happening. But anyway, watch on Netflix. Watch Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Joe Rogan. There was a couple more. Jeff, what was the one that you said? The Netflix special. Oh shucks.
D-Ray Davis.
D-Ray Davis. Watch D-Ray Davis. Was there another one that I'm missing? D-Ray Davis. There's just so much comedy on Netflix, and we talked about a lot of it. And
Old classic one.
watch old classic ones. That's right. Go back and watch George Carlin. Watch some HBO specials. Go back and watch some of the first generation of that. We talk about a lot of these things here, so I'm going to spare you in the intro of that. But take notes throughout this thing. Write down some of the names that you hear us mention. Watch these comedy specials because they are amazing. Keep comedy alive. Do what you got to do to make that happen and continue to happen. Yeah. So I think that's all I got for you in the show preview. So yeah, stay tuned for part 2 of this, which will be coming to you here in a couple weeks. Please hit subscribe, hit follow on Instagram and on Twitter. MI Stuff Podcast on all the fronts. Google MI Stuff Podcast. Click everything that comes up and subscribe to anything or follow anything that prompts you. So yeah, do that. Stay up to date on everything that we're going to be doing. Adam and Smitty are about to be here to do be recording some songs. So yeah, stay tuned for those. We might do a little cornbread podcast if we get a chance within all the music. But yeah. So I think that's all I got for you. Hit subscribe. Share the shit out of all this stuff. Share everything. All right. Without further ado, episode number 82, ladies and gentlemen. MI Stuff featuring Jeff Thomas. Enjoy, motherfuckers. All right.
Cool. Wow.
All right. Hitting the links at the bottom of the page, YouTubers. Hitting the links at the bottom of the page. There's all kinds of links at the bottom of the page. Click them right now. Thank you. Love you. Mean it. Peace, bitches.